Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kosi's Arsenal podcast. My name is Kosi, and in this video, we are going to be discussing much more about Granit Xhaka. There is a lot on my table to discuss. I want to talk about Stan Kroenke and the losses and Dangote, but I think I'll shoot a video about that tomorrow. Hector Bellerin, Heki B, is actually what? Close or has been given an opportunity to join Barcelona. There is a pre-contract, offered to him. We're going to be discussing that and more, I think, tomorrow. But in this one, let us dive deep into Granit Xhaka's presence at Arsenal. He's one of those players that have actually been, for Arsenal. For quite some time now. I think he's been with the club ever since the Arsene Wenger regime. He has seen all the three regimes, actually four regimes now. The Arsene Wenger era, he's seen the Unai Emery era, he's now on the Mikel Arteta era, and he also saw the interim management of Freddie Ljungberg. So you could actually think that he's one of those players that have actually taken some time at Arsenal. But you know what? I have a problem with Granit Xhaka, and that's what we're going to be discussing in this one, in this video. What is the problem with Granit Xhaka? What is my problem with Granit Xhaka? But what do I think is the biggest problem with Granit Xhaka? Aside from my personal thoughts, what is his weakness as a player, and why do I think as players like Didier Decore, as players like Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg are playing at Tottenham, Xhaka doesn't need to be playing at Arsenal. Here we go. So let us look at some of the statistics of Granit Xhaka per 90 and see how strong he is. Actually, he has a very good pass completion. He stands at 88.9%. I think his passing is not so awful. Passes attempted per 90, 69.9. For a midfielder, it is due to judge whether that is little or more. But for me, I think for a midfielder like Granit Xhaka, you need to be getting more balls, and making more passes. Pressures, he applies 12.27. Progressive passes, he has 6.57 on average per 90. Progressive ball carries, he stands at 5.36. Clearances, he stands at 1.76. Aerial balls won, he stands at 1.6. Tackles 1.67, blocks 1.3, and then shot creating action stands at 1.33. So these are some of the statistics that you can think about that where he's actually performing so well. If you look at in terms of percentage where he's doing so well, progressive passes, he stands at 92%. Passes attempted, he stands at 87%. Pass completion, he stands at 86%. Progressive carries, he stands at 78%. Then clearances at 73%. Aerial balls won stands at 73%. And then the list actually goes on and on and on and on. So these are some of the statistics you can talk about Granit Xhaka. For instance, if you wanted to talk about Xhaka and his statistics before we start analyzing him and going deep down into the discussion. But for me, my problem with Xhaka is not the statistics actually, because I think it would be a little bit more logical if we went with the statistics of Granit Xhaka. But we have seen he has very, very good passing accuracies. He has high percentage in passes attempted and so on. So then the question is, where is the problem with Granit Xhaka? Why do I think he's not good enough, and how can we make him better if he can be made better? Because he's 30 years of age, 32, 33, and I think his age doesn't guarantee that he's going to change, and we just need to get him out and get in a better player. First and foremost, let us first agree, where does Granit Xhaka play, and what do you expect from such a role? When he had just come from Borussia Mönchengladbach to Arsenal, there were so many, words flying. He's gonna be the next Patrick Vieira is going to be this kind of guy that's going to continue, create the link between the defense and the midfield, and it's going to be, very astonishing with Mesut Ozil. There's so many projections that were made about Granit Xhaka, and they were not wrong, because for me, I think coming from Borussia Mönchengladbach, he had come as one of those players that had earned it, that had nailed it that season. I think him and Mahmoud Daoud at Gladbach, for me, are those players that I've seen in their midfield and I've been satisfied. And I thought, Arsenal should sign them. I thought we should have signed Granit Xhaka. And the question was, did we? Actually, the question was, we had to pick between two players. It was either Xhaka or N'Golo Kante, and we went for Granit Xhaka, £35 million. I still remember, and Chelsea signed N'Golo Kante, and all of us know what Kante is doing at Chelsea, and we know what Granit Xhaka is actually offering Arsenal. But for me, my problem with Xhaka, first and foremost, simply not good enough. And for me, that is the statement I can use on Granit Xhaka. He literally doesn't make so many mistakes. If you watch his steps so closely, he doesn't make those many mistakes that you're gonna rant about. But he's simply not good enough, because I'm gonna ask this question, and it's a little bit crazy because he's been on a very terrific run in the past 10 games, very consistent. He's been so consistent. I think this year, from January to March, including some parts of December, he's been very, very consistent. And many Arsenal fans actually will tell you, Kosi, you need to give Granit Xhaka another chance because he's been this consistent. He's been this good, and I might get tempted to agree with you that Xhaka has been that good. But for me, Xhaka is not good enough. I mean, let's take an example. Let's just pick 5 players that can actually play where he plays. Ndombele, Tottenham Hotspur. Højbjerg, Tottenham Hotspur. Fred, Manchester United. Jordan Henderson, Liverpool. N'Golo Kante, Chelsea. Okay, let's say Wilfred Ndidi or Tielemans. You could choose whoever you want. Leicester City, Joe McGinn, Aston Villa. Now, if you look at the quality of those players and what they offer to each of their clubs, then I think you can't compare Granit Xhaka to any of them. The only player I can compare him to is Fred at Manchester United, and I think Fred offers something to Manchester United that many Manchester United fans don't see. I think, one, he's very hardworking. You can't take away that from his game. But I also think he's very good at passing that ball, especially progressively at a sharp pace. Now, Granit Xhaka doesn't have pace, and for me, that's a big problem with him in the Premier League. You can't have a midfielder who's as slow as Granit Xhaka, unless he's so good in other aspects, like you could see Mesut Ozil. He was slow, but of course you would expect a key pass. Now Granit Xhaka rarely does that. He doesn't take free kicks, and he is very slow. And for me, that's the first problem. Apart from not being good enough, because there are not so many things you're gonna hold Granit Xhaka culpable of. There are not so many, but there are those little things that I think stand out. One, not being good enough, and not being good enough, not in a way that when you put him on the pitch, you want to see what exactly he offers at the club, and for me, that is that's where the problem is. What does he actually offer to Arsenal Football Club? Is he, the best passer in the club? No. Progressive carries, not that much. Defensive-wise, I don't think he's that brilliant as a defensive midfielder. I think many people will agree with me. Of course, you can't disagree. But I think with 30 years, 31, 32 years, of age, you don't need to give Granit Xhaka a new contract. You need to let him out. You need to bring in a player who is a little bit younger, ambitious, tenacious, and you can name anything you want. I think Xhaka is just not good enough, and his pace is also very, very slow, very slow. Look, in the Premier League these days, almost every team has a very good midfield. I just imagine you're playing against Joe McGinn, Rossi Barkley, and Jack Grealish, and then you have Granit Xhaka. there's a big disparity in quality. There's a big difference in quality, and at the end of the day, it's gonna cost you as a club. And I don't want Arsenal, to be to be costed, or I don't want us to lose games on things like a poor midfielder like Granit Xhaka. I don't think it's so bad. I don't blame him for the mistakes he made over Burnley. I think things do happen, but overall, Granit Xhaka is just not good enough. I think we need to agree on this. And that's my problem with him. And there are no other problems. If you woke up one day, if you woke up tomorrow, and he's over the moon, over the air, so good, I would keep him. I know, like I said, I would take him 5 years ago, 6 years ago at Gladbach. I would take him. Right now, I don't take him. I don't choose him. He's just not good enough. Share with me your thoughts. What do you think about Granit Xhaka in the comments below? I'll be very glad to hear from you. Consider subscribing if you like the channel, and if you like the content, please give me a like.